Hello, everybody, welcome. Rose is Psych Investigator. Everybody, welcome. Rose is Psych Investigator. I hope you're having a good afternoon. Today is November 29th, Saturday, and we're going to talk about something that has been reported that in Trump's so-called so-called peace plan, he supposedly was going to offer Russia part of Ukraine that is occupied, so which is outrageous. But I'm bringing this up because I spoke to Karina yesterday, and she was also feeling the energy that I feel, which is that even though we look at the news and it's awful, it feels like we have gone change has happened, and the energy feels very, very different. Okay, so I also wanted to ask that this topic, right, that I'm discussing now, because I wondered, I thought to myself, is this the thing that I thought uh, is going to finally like break break the current administration? Because I always saw that at one point Trump would go to the military and ask them to help, but isn't it? Oh, this in itself is already right a shift, an overt shift. Okay, not that we all have always know that he always loved it, but but really. I mean, I think that is beyond. Okay. And I'm going to show you a couple of things. Let me show you before I start. I found this cartoon, somebody posted it, and it was incredible. I'll be right back. So here you have the cartoon, and it's amazing because it's exactly what we're seeing, right? The situation. And it's Trump watching Putin go sit on top of Zelensky and almost strangle him, saying, "Give me what I want." So then Trump comes and says, "Stop! There's a better way." And then he gets on top of Zelensky and says, "Give him what he wants," which is exactly the perfect translation of what we're seeing here happen, right? Okay, so but this is the whole environment of what is going on, and then let's see. Let's see. Actually, I found a new headline. Just one second. Okay, so Trump's reported plan to hand Russia Ukrainian territories sparks outrage. A report by the Daily Telegraph outlining plans by the U.S. to recognize Russia's control over Crimea and other occupied territories as part of a proposed Trump-led peace deal has sparked alarm among allies and commentators. According to the Telegraph, U.S. President Donald Trump has dispatched his peace envoy Witkoff and son-in-law Kushner to Moscow to present the proposal directly to Russian President Putin, a move that would mark a sharp break with decades of U.S. policy. The plan would effectively legitimize Russia's annexation of Crimea, Donetsk, and Luhansk, and comes despite unease among European partners. If this is true, then we have a major problem, Houston, wrote Estonian lawmaker Marko Mihkelson, chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee in the NATO members' parliament. U.S. former Representative Adam Kinzinger, an anti-Trump Republican, shared a post on X from Sean Pinner, a former British soldier who fought for Ukraine, that said, "Watching Trump casually bargain away territory that isn't even his to give feels like a deep betrayal. If it's true, if the U.S. is willing to allow borders to be redrawn by force and let aggressors be rewarded, then the gates of hell are about to be opened," Ukrainian former diplomat Maria Drutska wrote on X. "This may prove to be the single most destabilizing and conflict-spawning decision of the 21st century, a truly Black Friday." Okay. And now here is the original reporting that was quoted on the Telegraph. And somebody who follows my channel, who lives in the UK, told me, and I think everybody probably, most people who follow at least some of the UK news trust it. I'm sorry, don't trust it, know it, that the Telegraph is a right wing. She said it's called Torygraph, Tory meaning conservatives in the UK, the party. Okay, but still, I don't feel like it's a lie. I don't think I wouldn't put it past him. And that's kind of the purpose of this video, right? Is to look into this, what is going to happen, because that is the ultimate, right? The ultimate outcome, right? So Trump to him put Ukraine's occupied territory. So I'm not going to subscribe for it to this, but that's because that is the ultimate red flag. Okay, right? And not that we don't know that Trump is for Russia, but this is a whole other level. Okay, it is a thing. So let's ask the question. So again, the question is it what is the real story here? Is this true that they plan to recognize the territories as Russia? Now there's two different things that I have to make a point of. Obviously, um, the US can recognize, or any country can recognize those territories as Russian. And that alone is like but I think what's happening is that they're proposing a peace plan that would offer this, right, as an official outcome if the war were to quote unquote end. But these are two separate things, and they're both are very damaging, right? And I think the US, given the power it still has, even though Trump wants to, lessen the power of the U.S. clearly by his actions, um, it doesn't make sense. Obviously, the U.S. doesn't have the power to give, right? Oh, here's Ukraine for you, but that's what's in there. Like they're proposing this to putting a lot of pressure for this to happen, probably. But it would be just as bad for the U.S. to say, you know what, whatever the outcome of the war, I think these territories belong to Russia. Like they're taking a strong position when we have supported Ukraine. Let me ask, what is the real story here? Is it true they plan to recognize? Let's see, what is the story here? And what's going to happen? Okay, so what is the story here? I did the protection, right? I did. It doesn't hurt because it's just in case if I haven't. I'd like to ask for protection, a beautiful ray of light coming on top of my head as I breathe in. I fill my lungs as I breathe out. I create a circle. I create a circle. I step into it. Step into it. I feel protected. I feel connected. I like to ask that information come only from the highest sources, that it create the good and all the good, and so it is. Okay, so let's see. All right, so what's the story? What's the story here? So I think it's part by part. So I see immediately that there's like a table and he's getting ready to meet with Putin. This is a vision, right? And he shows like a map, but it's made out of wood. This map, it's like, oh, he handing it to him. And he feels like finally, because he's so upset. Not upset, it's like he's annoyed and very stressed out and having to pretend like he doesn't work for Russia, which he does. And I see also that this is the ultimate, not just flex by Russia, but it's also, this is always has always been Russia's ultimate goal to have the US work for it, right? And I see that Putin is very happy. And I also feel that there's a fire, like Trump is wearing these big pants, and there's fire in his behind from the Epstein stuff, from all the files. And he feels that if he does what Putin wants, then nothing is going to come out. Everybody will be safe because it will be a total totalitarian world. And he just, there's something like it feels relief at finally like lifting the lid on everything, which has been apparent from day one from his so-called win, which I think is, not legit. And so this is a scenario. Now, then I see there, so now let's see what happens next. I see again the image of his hands and these people in military uniforms, but not it shows me the symbolic thing where it's like it shows me I know they're just very high ranking military people from all over the world, not just ours, probably meeting NATO, and they could chop his hands quickly and they come out from the woodwork, so to speak, because that is the ultimate no, right? That is like you're betraying your country. Okay, so I see that immediately that so his hands are cut off. And then I see that JD is like, oh, it's my turn, it's my turn. And then they show him that they have all the evidence about what he has done, that the election is not legitimate, and that this is a paper that this is a paper you're going to sign, you're resigning right now. So so this is what I see now. We have to ask also, tell me, okay, so then I told you guys I saw Trump sitting in like a small desk or table, side table kind of thing. Putin was already sitting there. He comes to sit with him, and that's when his hands are cut off. Then let me ask them the question. It's saying yes, the plan is absolutely correct. They they just like they did with the Witkoff call. They are like putting it out there. Okay, and then I see that does it? Let me show me those territory, Crimea and the territories. Is this going to be long? Be known as being a part of Russia? No, no, because it's saying then there's no point to the war. Okay, so and it's saying that Russia would take over Ukraine anyway, whether there's a doesn't make sense. It's like even if they sign something that they don't mean it, they would do whatever they want anyway. Because it's like I said, for Russia, everything is a zero-sum game. Either they win. When they win, everybody loses. There's no collaboration. There's no such thing as allies or anything like that. So what happens next? So his hands are cut off, and then what happens? And then I see that both of their seats are ejected, meaning they both end up leaving their their governments, and it's all and it shows me like a snap of like a second, the world turns again to what it was. So I think we have to also ask the question. Let's see here. I think the next question is, will Trump succeed in changing the world order to like because clearly that's what they want, right? To have Russia take over Europe. Uh, okay, so will they succeed, right? In other words, Europe becomes powerless relative to Russia, and the US is a colony, really, of Russia. Let's see. I have to check. Always have to check that it's not muted because I made a mistake just now. All right. So again, I gave that. So let me just ask that this last question. Will Trump and Putin succeed in changing the established world? It shows me like a piece of a puzzle that's about to click and that's stopped because it's saying it is not natural. It is it was all planned. It was about to connect. And it shows me, when you charge a phone, that Russia is really running out of battery and they need the US in order to survive. And as the battery source, right, the US ends up not being connected, they slowly kind of die away as a country. Again, they are like, so is Russia going to collapse? What's going to happen to Russia? Not that I care right now. Yeah, just to say chaotic fiefdoms. That's what for a few years, and then there's a new type of government. Wow. Okay, so that's it. So let's ask here. I also just quickly with the cards. I think we got the answer, right? I think the vision is very clear, but let's see more information. And as I was making notes to start doing the cards, I thought of another question that came up and I didn't ask, which is what's going to happen at this meeting, right? That so Jared and Witkoff are supposed to go to Moscow next to discuss the peace plan of the aggressor, right? To go, oh, let's see let's just decide something about Ukraine without inviting Ukrainians, right? But let's see what will happen at the Moscow meeting that Witkoff and Jared are scheduled to attend. It's weird. I see they go to this meeting, and then there's the same image of the fire behind their butts of the butts of Jared and Witkoff. And then I see the Russians rip the piece of paper, and they like get so angry and they kick them. Why would they do that? Because it wasn't exactly as they wanted, right? So it's the bullying tactic, right? This is the whole thing that this is like has been so successful for Russia. They act like bullies and people believe them. And so they're acting like that because there's some things were removed from the original conversation. By the time they get there, they will have these things have been removed. And I do see that Wyckoff and Jared are saying, no, but it's just that the thing that we have to tell the public is one thing, we can do another behind the scenes, and the Russians are still mad because they know that once all of this is leaked, they really lose a lot of power and they are very desperate. So, okay, and then it shows me they come back and then Trump falling. Okay. Okay, because then once it tells me once Putin realizes also that he's not getting what he wants, which he should have known a long time ago, then he feels free to release records of EPS and such. So, okay, so that's that. Now let's go to the cards. Okay, so let's see what's going to happen to this. I have to be careful. I'm kind of paranoid now that I want to make sure that I do not uh, press. It's not even a button. It's like a touch thing. It's sometimes if you're not careful, you just press it. So what is the story of this peace plan to hand the territories to Russia? Okay, behind the scenes. Wow, creating an ending. Okay, so now this is interesting because this is tradition. Like it's actually, guys, this is one of the hardest cards for me, to be honest. The Hierophant, that's the priest. So it's technically tradition, people behind the scenes, the courtiers, and also so going by the book. This is like the opposite. It's like it could be the shady courtiers, but also not going by the book. And then creating an ending. So it could suggest that their actions may create an ending or create an ending on what even for themselves, because then ultimately, okay, so what's the story of this plan to hand part of Ukraine to Russia? The military meeting. Oh, here about okay, the visions about interesting. Interesting. And if they're onto to them. Are they onto them? Interesting. Okay, let's see. Well, where's that? There's another silo card that I don't know why I selected it, but where did I put it? Okay, military blocks. Okay, interesting. Talking now here could be that they picked up the conversations. Oh, look, coffin talks lead to an end. So, okay, so we have the Wheel of Fortune. That's right. Create an ending of a meeting to talk. That's right. I feel like so it will be halted, it looks like. Okay. Um, Okay, what will happen? Let's see. So, mm, I found the cards. Okay, so let's do. So what will happen at the meeting? I'll just now with cards. Okay. So, oh look, fighting. Oh, heartbreak. An offer. Now, this is interesting because this is an offer when it's upright like this, is an offer that is not accepted. So there's fighting, heartbreak, an offer that is really, I wondered, I'm very surprised. I'm very surprised. No, I'm not. So what happens at this meeting, right? Something. Okay, travel, older man, official. Now again, the military, right? The card is this is the military figure. They somehow are onto it. Like, oh, the scythe. Oh, wow, cutting the government. Wow, disagreement. So it even looks like this could possibly be canceled because you have here the travel, there's fighting, there's travel, and then something is cut, right? And here we have a heartbreak of the man and the government. And what is cut here is the government, right? And here an offer, the military fighting. Okay, so it doesn't look like it's going anywhere really. And it's again, oh, interesting. Here's a card of the deal. Payment changes. So yeah, nothing. No, I think it's no. If it's possible that it may not even actually happen, but if it does, it's just it is everything reverts. It doesn't look like it will happen. Now let's ask this other question that I before I go. Okay, about this is will Trump? Let's see, because this is ultimately the thing that will tell us a lot. So, will Trump and Putin succeed in changing the established world order? Right. So let's see. Okay, justice upright. So this is a lot of it's sort of like a bully, intellectually bullying card, creating an ending. They try to create an ending, but justice comes. Okay, so let's see what else. Party, gambling, expectation. You gambling and they lost. Okay, so they're waiting. Opportunity, election, man. So right. So yeah, okay, here letter, deal. Women, now the unexperienced, inexperienced women, the young, right? The matron, that's a young girl. So okay, so the information about what about about that comes out. Oh, you know what I'm getting? Psychically, I'm getting. This is the core of everything. This is how they ultimately connect and have connected from the start. And it will all come out. Man, it's interesting because the last column, which is the farther out, right? The justice card, waiting, expecting something. Justice comes, expect justice for the girls. Okay, so that is ultimately what happens. So do I think that they're going to succeed in this? No. Why? Because this information comes out. They're not able to stop it from coming out. Okay. And that tells me that this is their ultimate downfall. Okay. All right. So interesting. I don't want to keep this to, I don't want to make it very long. So I'm going to stop here. And thanks for watching. All right. Okay. Bye, guys. See you soon.